Howdy, friends. Hope you've all been doing well this past year. Oh my goodness. During this time, I've decided to take what I've learned from releasing Field Day on itch.io and apply that knowledge to something much more ambitious. Now, building a game engine from scratch seems like a fairly involved undertaking, and it is, but so does indie game development when you think about it. Plus, it offers the chance to learn more about graphics programming and shaders. So that's what I've been doing for the past year. It has taken many failed attempts, but I'm finally ready to share some of my progress. Now, before I knew anything about OpenGL or the graphics pipeline, the language I settled on using was Java. This could have been a mistake, depending on how you look at it, since Java's memory management isn't really suited for this kind of thing. Basically, Java uses the heap to
Skill issue.
things like arrays and objects, which is great for general application development because it means we as developers can create dynamic models for our data without having to worry about memory allocation. Issue is, we're using native programming, which means we have to communicate how much memory we'll be using ahead of time. So the tool that I'm using is the lightweight Java game library. It's this awesome Java library that not only communicates data from our game engine to the graphics card, but also provides tools for allocating memory ahead of time, as well as some quality of life features for making a game engine. You know, classes for vectors and matrices, that sort of thing. It also has an impressive ludography, being used to create one of my all-time favorite games, and one I've put hundreds of hours into at this point. Project Zomboid. I still haven't played Minecraft yet, but that was also built using lightweight Java game library. Today I'm finally ready to tackle instancing, which is using the same mesh to draw multiple objects in a single draw call. Essentially, it's a really performant way of rendering a lot of things at the same time, like particles or trees or even terrain. Before that, let's actually go through some of my previous attempts. Hopefully it'll become clear why this took so long. So, for this first attempt, I basically had no idea what I was doing. I didn't really understand how to use a lot of the memory management tools and was basically just following a tutorial I found online. Essentially trying to learn as I go, though I don't remember writing 90% of this. It was a while ago, but a few things stick out to me as just odd. Still, hindsight is 2020, and unlike another project, I at least managed to render something. Even if it's just a gray background with some text on it. I give myself a C. Too much tutorial, but a solid starting point. This next project mimics the first in that it's mostly just me following a tutorial, but at least I tried drawing outside the lines a little bit. Plus, this one had something the first one didn't, which was a sensible graphics pipeline. Not bad, though in preparation for this video, having opened this project for the first time in months, I noticed quite a few mistakes being made and some of them were pretty obvious in hindsight. Now my cope is that it's the tutorial's fault, but if that's the case, why didn't I just go back to the tutorial to see what I did wrong? Still, I spent a few minutes fixing bugs to quell the tidal wave of errors appearing in the console, and just like that, a scene with working camera movements finally appeared. Now, the cube mesh is a little jank, plus the texture is laughable, but still some improvements over last time. B-. We were able to get a visible scene, but there were way too many errors. Okay, for this third project, I started playing around with the idea of a game engine as a service. Basically shoving REST endpoints where they don't belong. Now, the idea was that I'd be able to release this game engine and allow people to render things to their screen from the browser. I honestly spent more time than I'm proud to admit trying to get something rendered to the screen in time for this video, but alas. D+. Code-wise, I appreciate the creativity in trying new things, but clearly I was in way over my head. Alright, fourth time's the charm. Funny enough, for these next couple of projects, I actually doubled down on the whole game engine as a service idea, getting better results with each iteration. Though I wouldn't call what you're about to see a huge leap forward by any stretch of the imagination. Returning to this project has really cemented how little I truly understood about shaders at the time. Just looking at it, I can tell that there are areas where I skimmed through and thought I could improve upon the process of magically summoning triangles to tessellate into recognizable shapes, while neglecting the reasons why a tutorial was written the way that it was in the first place. Another D+. At this point, it was time to take a step back and rethink things. Finally, up until now, what you're seeing was the most recent incarnation of what I'm calling the Monolith Game Engine. This project was months in the making and the culmination of trial and error that can only come from sheer strength of character. This project is, if I'm being honest, a little over-engineered. My idea was to take everything that I've done previously and condense down every step into a single pipeline. A render pipeline, where simple bits of information would be fed in and a fully formed game would pop out on the other end. It was during this project that I finally got graphics programming. It wasn't about buffers or textures, it wasn't about materials or 3D objects. It was about the journey. A journey of hope. The hope of one day never again having to add another loading strategy to this quixotic rat king of a framework.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
Few cool side notes about this project. It is the first time I've successfully built a fully working neural network from scratch. Initially, the plan was to leverage compute shaders to perform the work, but I never made it that far, so it basically runs entirely in the Java code and is really slow. It also has a separate and fully functional UI, written in Angular. Standing up two separate applications seemed like the logical move at the time, but that might just be my work bleeding into my hobby. It's also the project that I'll be using as a reference to implement instancing in the current build. I actually managed to get most everything needed to make a fully fleshed out game working, but the whole API aspect was kind of a mistake. I mean, it's cool that it's possible. It even runs the engine on a separate thread, yet all of the Spring Boot functionality just works. Solid B+, clearly getting somewhere. All caught up, let's take a quick look at where things stand today. Yeah, very good. In the next video, we'll finally tackle or port over instancing to this new project. And maybe even go back to long stretches of sprite drawing set to lo-fi hip-hop. Okay, bye.